Our story begins with Elara, a chef whose skill transcended mere culinary art. Her creations were legendary, each dish a symphony of flavors that danced on the palate and lingered in the memory. But Elara possessed a secret, a gift, or perhaps a curse that set her apart. She could taste memories. Not just the ingredients, but the very essence of the person who cooked the dish. Their emotions, their intentions, their history, all infused into the food. It was a subtle phenomenon at first, a faint shimmer of feeling around a perfectly seared scallop, a whisper of a forgotten laugh within a rich bisque. Over time, her gift sharpened, becoming a vivid, often overwhelming, sensory experience. A bite of a lovingly prepared meal would flood her with images of childhood warmth. A simple, hurriedly made sandwich could convey the stress of a deadline. This unique ability made her an unparalleled chef, allowing her to understand and replicate dishes with an emotional depth few could fathom. Yet, it also made her intimately aware of the raw, often ugly, truths of human nature, making trust a luxury she rarely afforded. In her past life, Elara had been a different woman, younger, perhaps a touch more naive. She had fallen deeply in love with Julian, a man whose charm was as intoxicating as the meals he prepared. His cooking, rich with fragrant herbs and carefully forced ingredients, had always sung to her of devotion, of a profound and tender affection. Every dish he placed before her seemed to emanate a warmth that enveloped her, convincing her utterly of his boundless love. Their marriage was, by all appearances, idyllic, a tapestry woven with shared meals and whispered endearments. But as the seasons turned, a faint dissonance began to creep into Julian's culinary melodies, a delicate metallic tang in his usually robust sauces, a chilling undercurrent of calculation beneath the surface sweetness of a dessert. Elara, then, had dismissed it as her overactive imagination, a chef's paranoia, or perhaps a slight change in Julian's mood. She clung to the warmth, the familiar comfort of his initial love, ignoring the insidious chill that now occasionally pierced through it. Her gift, usually so clear, was clouded by her heart's desperate desire to believe in his goodness. Then came the matter of the inheritance. Elara's family wealth, a substantial fortune accumulated over generations, was due to pass entirely to her. Julian's interest, which had always seemed peripheral, sharpened with a sudden, unnerving intensity. He spoke of investments, of securing their future, but Elara now felt a cold dread settle in her stomach whenever he broached the subject. The metallic taste in his cooking grew more pronounced, more sinister, each time he mentioned her inheritance, like the bitter tang of a lie. The final meal was a masterpiece, a grand feast prepared by Julian himself, ostensibly to celebrate their anniversary. He had outdone himself, presenting a lavish spread of Elara's favorite dishes, each one seemingly overflowing with passionate adoration. As she took her first bite, a wave of overwhelming, almost suffocating love washed over her. It was a potent, distilled essence of everything she had initially adored about him. But then, beneath that powerful illusion, the true taste struck her. A searing, burning venom, potent and immediate. The love she had savored was a lie, a meticulously crafted facade designed to mask a swift and merciless betrayal. As her body began to shut down, the memories surged through her, not as a whisper, but a scream. She saw Julian, not through the haze of love, but with chilling clarity. His cold, calculating eyes, the faint, triumphant smirk playing on his lips, the utter lack of remorse in his heart. He had never loved her. He had loved her fortune, and he had poisoned her for it. Her last breath was a silent gasp of horror. Her last thought, a bitter, agonizing realization. I should have known. My gift screamed the truth, and I chose to ignore it. Then she woke up. One moment she was drowning in the cold, black abyss of betrayal. The next, a gasp for air, a sharp, disorienting shock as she found herself lying in a lavish bridal gown. The scent of lilies filled the air, the soft murmur of an organ played in the background. It was her wedding day, the exact same day. The same dress, the same church, the same expectant hush before the ceremony. And, standing at the altar, waiting for her, was Julian. The rush of memories was a torrent, a terrifying, hyper-real replay of her past life. Not a dream, but a lived experience. The love, the poison, the betrayal, it was all fresh, visceral, and horrifyingly real. Her heart hammered against her ribs, not with pre-wedding jitters, but with the cold grip of terror. She looked at Julian, his handsome face alight with a practiced smile, and felt an overwhelming, primal revulsion. She couldn't do it again. She wouldn't. She refused to walk into that same poisoned future. With a strength born of desperation, Elara rose, her veil rustling around her. The congregation stirred, a ripple of unease passing through the assembled guests. "I cannot," she declared, her voice trembling but clear, echoing through the grand hall. "I cannot marry him." The words hung in the air, shattering the solemn silence, eliciting gasps and murmurs of scandal. Julian's charming smile faltered, replaced by a flash of bewildered anger, then a cold, calculating fury. Chaos erupted, whispers turning into outraged shouts as the perfect facade of the wedding splintered. Amidst the swirling storm of confusion and outrage, Elara's eyes darted through the crowd. Her gaze landed on a figure standing quietly to the side, distinct from the agitated guests. It was Theron, Julian's older brother. Theron was everything Julian was not: stoic, reserved, his face a mask of quiet composure. He rarely smiled, his eyes held a watchful, intelligent gaze, and he moved with a deliberate, almost unnoticeable grace. He was known for his formidable intellect and his emotionally distant nature, a man who preferred logic to sentiment. As Julian, now red-faced with indignation, began to march towards her, Elara made an impulsive, desperate decision. A calculated risk, perhaps, but one that promised safety. She looked at Theron, meeting his steady gaze across the rapidly emptying aisle. "I will marry him," she announced, pointing a trembling finger at Theron. The silence that followed was even more deafening than the preceding chaos. Theron, usually unflappable, blinked, a flicker of genuine surprise crossing his otherwise impassive features. He looked from Elara to his furious brother, then back to Elara, and with a quiet nod, a gesture of unexpected acceptance, he stepped forward, a silent anchor in her storm. Life with Theron was precisely as Elara had hoped and feared. It was quiet, respectable, devoid of the passionate highs and treacherous lows that had defined her previous life with Julian. Their marriage was a pact of convenience, a haven of mutual respect rather than a whirlwind of romantic love. Theron was a man of unwavering duty, a shrewd businessman whose life revolved around logic and order. He was impeccably composed, his emotions carefully guarded, his presence a steady, reassuring anchor in the tumultuous sea of Elara's second chance. Crucially, Theron never cooked. He appreciated her culinary artistry, praising her dishes with a quiet sincerity, but he himself avoided the kitchen entirely. This, more than anything, brought Elara immense relief. No memories to taste, no hidden intentions to decipher, no veiled malice to dread. In the tranquil, almost sterile environment of their shared life, she felt genuinely safe. She had outsmarted fate, she believed, by choosing a path of predictable calm over a road paved with charming deception. Her days were filled with the quiet rhythm of their respectable existence, and she began to breathe without the constant gnawing fear of betrayal. Several months into their new life, the ancestral estate, a grand imposing edifice that had belonged to Theron and Julian's family for generations, hosted a formal family gathering. It was an occasion of forced civility, a careful dance around the raw nerves of past scandals. Julian, of course, present, his anger towards Elara still a simmering undercurrent beneath his carefully composed demeanor.
He was now married to Seraphina, a woman of exquisite grace and delicate beauty, whose outwardly sweet disposition seemed to soothe Julian's volatile temperament.
The air in the grand dining hall was thick with unspoken tension, a polite veneer stretched taut over unspoken resentments. Theron sat impassively at the head of the table, his presence a silent shield against the subtle barbs exchanged across the polished wood. Seraphina, with a winning smile, proudly presented a dish she had prepared herself, a traditional family recipe, a rich, aromatic stew, simmered for hours and presented in an ornate silver tureen. "A little something from my own hands," she announced, her voice soft and melodious, to welcome Elara fully into the family. A fleeting hesitation gripped Elara. Every fiber of her being screamed a silent warning. But a deeper curiosity, an innate professional instinct, urged her forward. She had to know. With a polite smile, she accepted a small portion, the rich aroma wafting invitingly from the steaming bowl. She took a spoonful, the flavors unfolding on her tongue, perfectly seasoned, tender meat, fragrant vegetables. It was, on the surface, delightful, an exquisitely prepared dish that would earn praise from any discerning palate. But then it hit her, a jolt, a cold shock that rippled through her entire being, sending a shiver down her spine. It wasn't just a memory, it was a profound, chilling feeling, an echo of the past that made her blood run cold. Beneath the layers of deliciousness, she tasted a calculating ambition, a veiled contempt that was sharp and precise. And beneath that, unmistakable and potent, was the same insidious, venomous betrayal she had experienced in her past life. It wasn't Julian's specific memory this time, but the identical type of malevolence, a refined, elegant evil. A flash of an image, fleeting and terrifying, burned behind her eyes. Seraphina's elegant hand, meticulously adding a pinch of something to a pot, her eyes holding a flicker of cold triumph. The spoon clattered from Elara's suddenly numb fingers, falling onto the fine china with a sharp, unsettling crack. Her face drained of color, she gasped, a strangled sound that drew every eye in the room. The polite chatter died, and a chilling silence descended, broken only by the echo of the falling spoon. Panic, cold and suffocating, seized Elara. It was happening again, the same insidious danger, the same chilling malevolence, but now from a new, unexpected source. Her mind raced, a frantic kaleidoscope of past horrors and present fears. Later that evening, in the quiet solitude of their private study, she desperately tried to explain it to Theron. Her words tumbled out, disjointed and urgent, describing the horrifying taste, the undeniable echo of betrayal she had experienced. She needed him to believe her, to understand the invisible threat that now loomed over them. Theron listened, his expression unreadable, his composure unwavering. He was a man of logic, of tangible proof, and Elara's gift, by its very nature, defied logical explanation. He attributed her distress to stress, to a vivid imagination, to lingering anxieties from her past, perhaps even to an unfortunate, misplaced memory. He asked for evidence, for something concrete, something measurable. "How can you be certain, Elara?" he asked, his voice calm, but devoid of the understanding she so desperately needed. A taste, an intuition, these are not facts. Her frustration mounted, a burning resentment for the very quality that had once offered her sanctuary. She couldn't prove a taste, she couldn't articulate the raw, visceral terror of a memory-infused meal. His emotional distance, once a comfort, now felt like an impenetrable wall, leaving her isolated and vulnerable. "You don't understand," she cried, her voice rising in desperation. It was the same evil as before, just wearing a different face. Theron merely observed her, his brow furrowed, but no belief. Her chosen path to safety had, it seemed, led her right back to the precipice of danger, and the one man she relied on to protect her couldn't see it. A steel resolve hardened in Elara's heart. If Theron couldn't or wouldn't believe her, then she would have to protect herself, and perhaps him.
Her gift, once a passive receptor of truth, would now become an active tool of investigation. She began observing Serafina with a meticulous intensity, noting every gesture, every nuance in her interactions, particularly with Julian. Serafina's smile, while sweet, never quite reached her eyes. Her compliments, while effusive, felt hollow, like carefully rehearsed lines. Elara discreetly sought opportunities to taste Serafina's cooking again, no matter how small. A cup of herbal tea offered for Elara's nerves, a delicate biscuit shared during afternoon tea, a sample of a new sauce Serafina was proud of. Each time, the same faint undercurrent of malice, that cold, calculating ambition, confirmed her fears. It was consistent, undeniable. She noted Serafina's meticulousness, her guarded glances towards Julian, her feigned solicitousness towards Theron, all tiny pieces of a chilling mosaic. She also started paying closer attention to Julian. His anger towards Elara still simmered, but now she detected a new element in his demeanor, a hint of fear whenever Serafina was near. Was he a willing participant in this new plot, or merely another pawn, manipulated by Serafina as he had once manipulated Elara? He seemed smaller, less self-assured than in his past life, his once potent charm now somewhat deflated. Elara began to piece together the visible clues, researching Serafina's background, her relatively swift and convenient marriage to Julian, connecting them to the unsettling tastes. Elara deepened her investigation, not just focusing on Serafina, but on the estate itself and the family's long history. She sought out the older staff, those who had served the family for decades. One evening, she tasted a simple, comforting stew prepared by Martha, the kindly head cook, a woman whose every dish radiated warmth and genuine care. From Martha's food, Elara received not malice, but flashes of the family's deep, convoluted past, whispers of old grievances, hushed secrets, and the pervasive weight of the family fortune. She learned that the family wealth was not merely immense, but intricately tied to ancient, complex rules of inheritance, a web of legal clauses and traditional obligations. Theron, as the elder son and current head of the family businesses, held a key position in this elaborate structure, a position that many seemed to covet. Martha's memories, relayed through the comforting flavors of her cooking, revealed a pattern, hints of previous accidents that had befallen distant relatives who stood in the way of certain lines of succession. There were vague, unsettling mentions of estranged cousins, of tragic illnesses, of unfortunate coincidences that, in retrospect, seemed far too convenient. Elara's heart pounded with a chilling realization. This was far bigger than just Serafina and Julian's individual ambitions. This was a deeper, long-standing conspiracy embedded within the very fabric of the family. Theron, she understood now, was not just a target, but the primary target. Serafina and Julian were merely the current instruments, the latest pawns in a very old, very dangerous game. The venom she tasted in Serafina's food was not just her own malice, but the echo of a generational sickness, a pervasive greed that corrupted everything it touched. Elara pushed further, meticulously piecing together the fragmented memories, following the faint, cold trail of ambition. Who benefited most from Theron's removal? Who had the means, the influence, and the motive to orchestrate such a pervasive, long-standing conspiracy? Her thoughts kept returning to the matriarch of the family, Theron and Julian's mother, Lady Anya. Outwardly, Lady Anya was the picture of frail benevolence, a grieving widow whose gentle demeanor commanded sympathy and respect. She rarely cooked herself, always tended to the estate's extensive staff, and her presence was usually of quiet elegance, a refined dignity. Yet, even in her expressions of love and concern, Elara had always detected a subtle, almost imperceptible chill, a guardedness that felt more like calculation than genuine affection. Then came the moment of chilling clarity. One afternoon, Lady Anya, citing Elara's recent nerves, offered her a special herbal tea, brewed, she proudly declared, by my own hands, for your comfort, dear. Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. The air around the delicate porcelain cup seemed to shimmer with a cold dread. She took the cup, her fingers trembling almost imperceptibly, and then, steeling herself, she took a careful sip.
The taste that flooded her senses was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was not merely malice or betrayal, it was a profound, calculating, ice-cold ambition that made Seraphina's subtle venom seem amateurish, even childish. It was a desire for absolute control, for power so complete it bordered on the psychopathic. The memory flashes that erupted were not fragmented, but vivid, horrifyingly detailed. She saw Lady Anya not as a frail matriarch, but as a meticulous architect of schemes, orchestrating Julian's manipulation in Elara's past life, carefully observing Seraphina now, whispering instructions, planting insidious suggestions, subtly poisoning minds and relationships. The goal was clear: to ensure her absolute control over the family fortune, perhaps by removing Theron, then easily manipulating a weaker Julian, and later, Julian's vulnerable wife. The love Julian had professed for Elara in her past life? An engineered performance, carefully coached and encouraged by his mother, designed to secure Elara's wealth for the family, which, in Lady Anya's mind, meant for her. The past poisoning had not been Julian's sole idea, but a family plot directed by Anya, with Julian as the unwitting, or perhaps willingly, complicit. And now, Seraphina was her new pawn, aiming her poisoned dish at Theron, continuing the insidious pattern. Lady Anya was the true serpent, hiding in plain sight behind a facade of fragile elegance and maternal concern. Overwhelmed by the horrifying revelation, Elara found herself trembling, but also burning with a fierce, righteous rage. This wasn't just about her, or Julian, or even Theron. This was about a generational pattern of insidious murder, a cold, calculating evil that had corrupted an entire family. She needed to expose it, not just for Theron's safety, but for the sake of justice. Her gift, powerful as it was, wouldn't be enough to convince the world. She needed incontrovertible proof. She recalled a crucial detail from Anya's tea memory, a specific, rare herb, difficult to identify, that acted as a subtle, slow-acting poison, mimicking natural illness. It was the same one used in the past. She discreetly obtained a sample of the leftover tea leaves from Anya's cup, carefully preserving them. Then, Elara made a daring, almost reckless move. She announced she would prepare a special dinner, a grand occasion for the entire family. She poured her resolve, her fury, and her love for Theron into the culinary process. As she served the carefully crafted meal, a dish designed to elevate sensory perception and stimulate honest reflection, she placed a specific small tart before Lady Anya. Within its delicate crust, Elara had infused a subtle, nearly undetectable ingredient, not a poison, but a potent, natural catalyst. It was designed to react with any lingering traces of the rare poison in Anya's system, causing a slight, involuntary tremor or flush, a telltale sign. As she served Anya, Elara leaned in, her voice low and clear. "Mother," she began, using the formal address, "this dish is made with a rare, honest herb. It strips away all deception, all pretense. It reveals the true flavor of the soul." Elara then turned to Theron, whose face was a mask of concern and confusion. With a steady gaze, she finally laid bare for gift, not just in words, but by describing in chilling detail Lady Anya's true intentions, the specifics of the rare poison, the pattern of deceit that stretched back generations. She described the memory of Julian's, not just a feeling, but a vision of his face, his cold eyes, all of it orchestrated by his mother. She presented the physical evidence of the tea leaves,
the small vial she had discreetly analyzed containing trace elements of the very poison she described. Theron, seeing the tea sample, the scientific analysis, and hearing the impossible, chilling details Elara revealed, details only his mother could possibly know, finally, unequivocally saw the truth. His stoic facade cracked, revealing a profound devastation. His own mother. The public confrontation that followed was swift and brutal. Elara, with Theron now standing resolutely by her side, methodically exposed Lady Anya, using specific details from her tastes that only the true architect of the plots could have known. Julian and Serafina, though implicated, were revealed to be mere pawns, their own ambitions manipulated by Anya's far greater, colder game. The family was shattered, its carefully constructed legacy of respectability crumbling under the weight of such profound deceit. Lady Anya's reign of terror ended, her power stripped away, her fate sealed by the irrefutable evidence and the collective horror of those she had manipulated. Julian and Serafina, though implicated, were revealed to be mere pawns, their own ambitions manipulated by Anya's far greater, colder game. The family was shattered, its carefully constructed legacy of respectability crumbling under the weight of such profound deceit. Lady Anya's reign of terror ended, her power stripped away, her fate sealed by the irrefutable evidence and the collective horror of those she had manipulated. Julian and Serafina, though implicated, were revealed to be mere pawns, their own ambitions manipulated by Anya's far greater, colder game. The family was shattered, its carefully constructed legacy of respectability crumbling under the weight of such profound deceit. Lady Anya's reign of terror ended, her power stripped away, her fate sealed by the irrefutable evidence and the collective horror of those she had manipulated. Julian and Serafina, though implicated, were revealed to be mere pawns, their own ambitions manipulated by Anya's far greater game. Theron, though devastated by his mother's betrayal, was also transformed. He looked at Elara with a newfound understanding, a profound respect that had blossomed into a deep, unwavering love. His stoicism had melted, replaced by a raw, honest vulnerability. He saw her not just as a wife, but as a savior, a beacon of truth in a world shrouded in lies. Elara, finally free from the long, insidious shadow of the past, found true partnership and a love built on genuine trust and unwavering belief. Her gift, once a frightening burden, became a powerful tool for protection and truth, a quiet strength she now embraced. Their future was built on a new, honest foundation from truth, not deceit. Elara continued to cook, now for joy, her gift a part of her life, but used wisely, gently, always with an eye towards understanding and protection. The story of Elara reminds us that true danger often hides in plain sight, behind the most charming smiles, the most comforting facades, or even the most seemingly innocuous dishes. It is a testament to the power of intuition, the courage to believe in one's own truth, even when others refuse to see it, and the enduring strength of a love built on genuine trust. Sometimes, even a second chance isn't enough to outrun fate, but it offers the profound opportunity to rewrite it, one conscious choice, one act of courage, and one truthful taste at a time.